Well, earlier I spoke to Abdul Azeez Erumban in the Netherlands. He's a senior economist at the Conference Board, responsible for managing research, productivity and long-term economic projections. And I asked him whether hosting APEC will help or hinder Papua New Guinea.
This is a very interesting question, and I would say that this question is not very specific to APEC, but this is a very broad and general question to any summit or any large event when organized. It involves certain costs and certain benefits. Now, in this case, the benefits include rising international exposure and international profile of a country. For example, this is more of a kind of intangible effect. PNG is now known to a number of countries, and now world is talking about that country. So that is a kind of intangible effect that increases the profile of that country.
Which sectors tend to see the biggest impact when you do have events like these?
Yeah, so the immediate effect will be reflected in construction sector because you will be investing a lot in infrastructure development and roads and buildings and things like that. And also the hospitality institutions like hotels and restaurants and things like that, which are located in the city where the event is organized, will also be benefiting. But this is going to be a short-term effect again, so because it doesn't have a long-term effect from that perspective.
So when you have this short-term boost, how likely is that to be reinvested, not just into the people of PNG, but perhaps into some of the projects that they need to boost their own economy?
Yeah, there are two aspects or two ways to look into this. The first is that it also depends upon the size of the economy. So PNG is a small economy. For example, Philippines, which is times the size of PNG, has benefited a lot by hosting APEC in the past, by investing a lot of investment to that country, but also by investing heavily in infrastructure, which had a lot later trickle-down effect on other investment. But for a country like PNG, which is like which is poor, which is like less than 3% or 4% of United States per capita income, to get the larger impact of hosting such an event, I think it should also extend more into other sectors like education, human capital, and innovation, without which I don't think it will have a long-term impact on the economy.
Now, Papua New Guinea is, in fact, the poorest of the APEC nations, but it is now on this global stage. It has this spotlight. What can they really do to capitalize on this global spotlight?
Yeah, so this is a very, very interesting question, and I think even more important for countries like PNG, as I said earlier, is that diversifying its economy in the sense that innovation for an economy which is very small like PNG, unlike many other partners in the APEC countries, which are heavily involved in global value chain, its presence is very limited. So to boost that presence, it needs to have more innovative people and more better human capital, and through which only it can participate heavily in the global value chain, in which Asian economies and APEC economies are heavily involved in. So that is most important for a country like PNG to go forward, I would say.
And what would you say are the challenges in trying to accomplish that?
So there are a number of challenges. For example, PNG need to have, as you said rightly earlier, PNG is a poor country, so it needs to allocate its resources more efficiently and impactfully. So this kind of events, for example, can also lead to diversion of resources from effective use. For example, by investing in education or social sector, such effective use to other kind of use, which may have, in fact, negative impact in the longer term.
Now, you also have countries that host big events, whether it's APEC or whether it's perhaps even the Olympics, and you look at where the resources have gone and the sort of legacy pieces that are left behind. What do you think the legacy will be for Papua New Guinea with these meetings?
That's very hard to say if it will leave a big legacy, except that the name itself, because now the exposure or the profile of that country has increased among other countries. That's one thing. But other possibilities that, okay, one way by which countries benefit by hosting these kind of events is by attracting tourists in the future. But I do not expect that to happen significantly in the case of PNG after this particular event.
Now, we did see a fair number of investments into the country by the participating APEC members. What would you say is important when it comes to furthering regional integration for Papua New Guinea with the other APEC countries?
Yeah, so that point is an important thing because one long-term factor of this whole event is that some countries like Australia, New Zealand, and other countries have offered significant investment to PNG in terms of particularly helping the PNG to improve its internet connectivity and digitalization. So that will leave a long-term effect definitely, and that will be important. Now, for PNG to participate in the global value chain and in the part of this global value chain network in the Asian economy, as I said earlier, the most important thing is in developing its human capital.